You want to get to top tier? Well, good lucky for you, now is the perfect time. As of recent, the AV-8B NA pack has just gone for sale, and in my opinion, it is absolutely worth purchasing if you can get your hands on it. This isn't the biggest sale of the year for it, and also there will be more of them later, but if you want to get to top tier in the US tech tree now, this is an amazing option and definitely worth considering. So what is this pack? This pack is a normally $70 pack with the standard 20 days of premium and 2,500 golden eagles along with the vehicle, but as of now, during its sale, it has been dropped down to $48.99 USD. So cool, right? It's a plane and it's a premium and it can get you to top tier. But how? In terms of its flight performance and optimal grinding, it is really good at both simulator and realistic battles. In realistic battles, you're able to get approximately 20 to 30,000 research points on average on a good match where you can survive till the end, get a base kill, and get some air-to-air kills as well. As for simulator battles, you can get up to 55,000 research points per hour on average if you manage to stay on top of your game, dropping JDAMs on AI ground targets, generally the ones at the enemy airfield. There's good tutorials on YouTube on how to do this, but the strategy is very simple. It just involves you taking off with 10 JDAMs and 2 air-to-air missiles, climbing to roughly 8 kilometers or more in altitude, and then once within 20 kilometers using your TGP, you can drop bombs onto AI ground targets, usually the ones at the bases, since they respawn, and get lots of RP from doing so. So now let's take a more detailed look at its armament. The AV-8B NA Harrier is essentially identical to the top tier AV-8B Plus Harrier. Both of them carry really good air-to-ground armaments, as well as solid air-to-air armaments. However, the NA is a specially modified version of the Plus, and as such has much less armament choices. It doesn't have a radar, it's been removed, and you can tell distinctly by its shorter nose shape, and it also carries different missiles. The AV-8B Plus is able to carry the AIM-120 AMRAAM as well as the AIM-9M Sidewinder missile, while the AV-8B NA is limited to the AIM-9L. The AIM-9L, you can carry up to 4 of them, is a solid missile. However, it does not get the IRCCM flare-ignoring capabilities of the 9M and is not radar-guided. In terms of air-to-ground armament, it's also relatively well-stocked. It gets the Lightning II laser electro-optical targeting pod. In other words, it's able to click and lock on with the CCIP button, meaning that you can use it to target where you will drop bombs, and it's also used to be able to guide your Mavericks, your AGM-65s, and also you can use it to track targets for your paveways. Said paveways, you get the GBU-12 and the GBU-16. You'll be able to carry much more of the GBU-12 paveway than the 16 paveway, both of which are good, but I would recommend carrying the 12 paveway as you can get way more of them, and the difference between them is relatively menial. For the Mavericks, you get the AGM-65E and the AGM-65G. The E is laser guided, while the G is IR guided. It's up to personal preference which one you would use. However, generally the fire and forget capability of the AGM-65G variant, which is guided by IR, is more preferable. And in addition to this, if there's anything else you need, you can carry the Mighty Mouse rockets and the Zuni rockets and some dumb bombs, the 1,000-pound bombs, and a few fire bombs. So as you can see here, I've unlocked the majority of the strike fighters, and the F-15E I've managed to get as well. I've received, well, rather purchased the AV-8B about 22 days ago, and around that time I was able to play it for relatively long periods of time, and over the course of time I was able to accumulate and grind through a vast majority of the United States air tech tree. This F-15E was managed to be achieved within only 20 days. It's now spaded out, or rather almost spaded. There's still a single modification left, but other than that it's almost done. And all of this was possible thanks to the AV-8B Harrier. In terms of air battles, it's not a most powerful thing in the world. You don't got a radar, you don't have much in terms of ammo, your missiles are kind of mid, but it does carry a good amount of stuff. Generally, the loadout I'd recommend for grinding in the AV-8B would be 10 JDAMs and 2 AIM-9Ls along with your TGP, your lightning pod, and the gun. The gun is a GAU 12 25mm. It's the same one found on the LAV-AD in the ground tech tree. You can see here. The gun is relatively solid. Your belt choice is pretty decent actually. You're able to fire off semi-armor piercing high explosive rounds and just your regular high explosive. And in the case of using against ground targets, you can also get some HVAP in on that, so it's solid there. Countermeasures wise, you get 90 flare, 90 chaff, or you can alter that if you'd wish, but I recommend just blending and running both. So yeah, enough rambling about the plane itself. Let's just get into some good gameplay. Battle for Vietnam. In a simple match, you won't need to bring a whole lot of fuel. However, in Sim, you will obviously need to bring a full load. It gives you roughly an hour. Performance-wise, the NA isn't affected much else by the fuel. It's a relatively bulky plane, however, isn't really affected that much by it. The thing about the AV-8B NA is the thrust vectoring, which you aren't really going to see it being used a whole lot in, well, normal settings. You're not going to be VTOLing into battle or anything. You will find the occasional niche for it in ground battles, and maybe cap a point, and if need be, you can land on carriers. However, it doesn't come up that often. Primarily, however, what you can use thrust vectoring to your advantage is to set it to roughly 30%, and during combat, that'll allow you to slightly change the angle of your output thrust, meaning you can make tighter turns, which is a lifesaver for this thing. It has a really good roll rate for an unknown reason to me, so you can take advantage of your roll rate and your thrust vectoring for a higher rate of climb and turning rate, and you can become a really effective air-to-air dueler with it, even if you only carry 2 of your sidewinders. As you can see, I've got my Harrier all decked out with decals. It's very well modeled. It's very easy to use as well. Simply put, its optimal strategy would be to head roughly mid to high altitude within a battle on the way to the base, and lock a base with CCIP, drop all 10 JDAMs on the base, and then turn around and look for air targets. It is important to multipath with the Harrier, but I wouldn't say it's crucial while you're going to bases, as in its BR, a lot of your teammates will be flying stuff like the F4 Phantom, the A-10A, the F-111, the MiG-23. Although the MiG-23 I really don't believe should be used for base bombing, a lot of new players tend to gravitate towards doing that because of its high speed. Other than that, you should be fine to take bases. Those people you're going to be using as your bait. They will fly low, fly high, encounter the enemy MiGs and other such enemies. They'll get torn apart and you can easily cruise over them and look for a base. It's not always foolproof, and sometimes they will catch up to you and attempt to swipe you out of the air. And in that regard, you're okay. Your maneuverability is decent enough to get you out. By no means are you a tornado. In other regards, it's not the most amazing thing ever. Your mobility should be enough to easily swing around and plant sidewinders onto people. Having such a good turn rate, you can also, turn to your advantage and get your sidewinders on point. Yep, there you go. The sidewinders get uncaging, which makes them pretty nice. I think this... Yeah, okay, flared it off. Gets a good amount of flares, and it's pretty decent at its job. The SU-39 might be a bit of a problem, the 25T-39 TM. The thing is, they get tail-mounted IRCCM. From my experience playing it, it doesn't come up very often. However, it is just enough to be able to jam 9Ls on occasion, which can be really frustrating for you. So do keep in mind, the game will give you a pop-up that IRCM is active and is keeping your missiles from locking properly. As you can see, you can use the lightning pod as a sort of IRST. I'm not sure if... Okay, it did go for the flares. I am currently hauling a full bomb load. I would rather that I be able to drop it first before engaging. You can drop slightly before or after. The JDAM has GNSS guidance and you can get on with that quickly. You will overload over G a lot in this thing. I recommend just simply binding your pitch up and then tapping that every once in a while, or pitch down rather, and be able to correct it off. The IRST, as you can see, it does work. It's a little tracking thing. I'm not sure when they stopped showing the lead indicator with it, but it no longer is as good for tracking air targets, sadly. It's still very effective though. As you can see, I've got an air kill, an air assist, good amount of bombing damage done. SU-25. The lightning pod gives you really nice quality thermals. There we go. They did nerf this, sadly. You used to be able to use this as full-on IRST. As you can see, the sap belt makes this thing do tons of damage. Oh my god, we are pulling so many Gs right now. Yeah, the thrust vectoring is sort of double-edged in that you lose control relatively quickly. More free food. I don't know if this guy is gonna be smart enough. Did he blow up? I would say 30 is optimal, but if you want, very much easy to vector a little more for some extra mobility. I'm stuck in a turn fight with this dude. I don't even know what you call this. This isn't. He looks going ground bound. I think he's done for. No, he's still here. Oh shit. As you can see, the engine's definitely getting quite used over this battle. I'd recommend simply dropping your throttle every once in a while when the number turns orange. The Gao has a wind up, which is something I'd definitely be aware of when comparing to the Su-39. Both planes are really good, by the way. I have them both, and I've used them for about 270 battles each. Not quite enough to say I've mastered either, but they are both really good. As you can see, I've just taken this dude out of the air. He's done for. Not sure about this dude. I think I just saw. Yep, okay. I don't know if he wing ripped or whatnot, but he's dead. That leaves two people. MiG-29 radar ping. I'm not exactly sure what to think of that. Fuel generally isn't a problem, but yeah, there we go. We're done. Excuse me. Bulletproof. So yeah, as you can see, tons of research points, tons of cash with the premium time as well. You can make this much every 20-30 minutes. It is insane how fast you can grind with this thing. So yeah, that's how it used to be in this crew slot here. I've crewed the F-15 over it, but I got expert crew on it. Didn't ace it because I'm broke, and I spent the GE on something I probably shouldn't have wasted, but it's really good. There's not much I can say else about it. Just always remember that your gun will have to wind up. You don't have a radar, and yeah, JDAMs are a good friend of yours. You get a lot of countermeasures. Good air-to-air. As you saw, I managed to decimate their team. It was a really good match. So yeah, that'll be all for me. If you do plan on purchasing this vehicle, I'd say definitely purchase it on sale. $70 even for a plane like this. I paid it full price. I'm not sure if it was worth paying it full price, but the plane itself is definitely worth picking up at some point. It will make your F-15 grind a cinch. Alright then. Have a wonderful day, or evening, or night, whenever you are watching this, and see ya.